I can't. Like, getting tackled to the ground. Are you kidding me?
For
like,
a man, for a guy.
For a man.
No man is worth it.
No man.
No
man is. I'm walking home.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Brianna's Bachelor Breakdown. I'm Brianna, your Bachelor Relationship Analyst. If you love getting into the nitty-gritty of all the drama in the relationships, then this channel is for you. Today we're going to be covering the week 4 from Clayton season, but I have 2 special guests with me, Kelly and Julie of the YouTube channel Here to Find Love. Would you guys like to introduce yourselves?
Yeah. I'll start off. So my name is Julie. I'm the second half, the lesser half of Here to Find Love. Kelly's the better half. And I'm a relationship coach that's just like super into like trashy reality TV, The Bachelor being one of them. That's a little bit higher tier, I would say, and just a really big romantic. So like it's super fun for me to analyze these dating themes, and I'm super excited to be on your recap channel.
Hi, I'm Kelly, the other half of Here to Find Love. Same thing. I'm a dating coach, a sex educator, and Here to Find Love is just a place to get nerdy and talk about the like relationship stuff and the psychology and the dating trends. We tend to focus more on like the dating stuff happening on The Bachelor, and so that's what our channel is all about. And we are just so excited to be here on Brianna's Bachelor Breakdown. It's going to be a good conversation.
Yes, so happy to have you guys. So a few housekeeping things on this channel or this video recap. We'll mainly be talking about the cocktail party, the rose ceremony, and the group date. And we had a whole conversation about Rachel's one-on-one date and all of our thoughts about that on Here to Find Love. So that will be linked in the description. So be sure to check that out to get a full picture of our thoughts on the whole episode. So let's go ahead and get right into it. So we open up the episode with Clayton finally trying to address Elizabeth and Shanae. He takes them outside for a little chit chat. What were y'all's thoughts on how this conversation went?
Yeah, Kelly, why don't you start us off?
Oh man, I mean,
it was concise.
I mean, the long and the short of it is, Shanae is just a lot, and in that conversation, that little 3-way conversation between Shanae, Elizabeth, and Clayton, it did feel like I understand why Clayton struggled to kind of get clarity from that conversation, because it was, it was tough. Both of them were being pretty like sniping at each other a little bit in that conversation. So I understand why Clayton was confused by it, but you'd think it would have been easy for him to just ask other women or ask more detailed questions, as opposed to he kind of just sat there and listened to the two of them argue. There was no conclusion to the conversation, and then in the end it seems like he was just like, well, I want to bone Shanae more, so I'll keep Shanae. Like that's what it felt like. Like it didn't feel like there was a very substantive, thoughtful process on his part about which woman he believed more. And as far as the way they were both, I mean, Elizabeth is obviously the victim in this situation. She's just been pulled into this whole conflict like against her will, and she had no ill will against Shanae, and Shanae randomly was like, let me come in here and like I'm randomly mad at Elizabeth because one time she sat next to Clayton and it made me mad, and now I'm gonna tear this woman down. So like Shanae has this weird kind of vendetta against Elizabeth, and I feel so bad for her. And I also do think in that conversation it was like there was so much water, there were so many events that happened leading up to that conversation that it felt like it was hard for Elizabeth to really like stand her ground and like give a good explanation for why Shanae was being out of line. And I do think that to Clayton's like naked ear, it did seem like, oh well, they're both being a little catty. Like, so I kind of understand why Clayton was frustrated, even though as viewers we know that it was Shanae who was being
antagonistic.
Antagonistic.
Totally.
Exactly. So that was my read of the scene. What do you all think?
I mean, I agree with your assessment on it. It's like he it's like he heard them out because he knew that he had to hear them out. But it's kind of like his mind was already made up a little bit. And it's like, I like Shanae more and I have more chemistry with her. Is Elizabeth going to say anything that's really going to make me think, no, I don't want to keep this woman around? And it just felt so petty when they were like retelling the events of what happened, that I could see Clayton. I mean, he looked like he was in physical pain, and he just felt like he was like tuning them out almost, because he didn't hear anything that was like a deal breaker. It just kind of sounded like stuff happening in the house that was like, okay, like, haven't we all dealt with really small petty drama like this? That doesn't mean that Shanae, in his eyes, was like a negative person. Like, you're right, Kelly. He should have done a little bit more like crowdsourcing and really been like, I'm going to get down to the heart of this, because a lot of people, you know, this is something that's really like pinning the house, and a lot of people are talking to me about it. But he chose to kind of do it in a very like lazy way, which we talked about in our other recap video, of him just being like, all right, well, I heard both sides. It doesn't sound like Shanae did anything that bad. It sounds like it was just them not getting along, and that doesn't really mean anything about my connection of both of them individually. I like Shanae more. I'm picking Shanae. What did you think, Brianna?
Yeah, Brianna, I want to hear your thoughts.
No, I agree entirely. I feel like when I came in and was watching the scene, I really tried to put myself in Clayton's shoes and like disregard everything that like we as viewers know about the conflict that had happened, and think about what it would sound like hearing this just like without prior context. And I honestly have to give it to Shanae in terms of spinning a story to make herself sound like she is the recipient of this bullying. Like when she's like, I made shrimp and no one wanted my shrimp, and like everyone was ignoring me. Like, you know, like I can see why without any prior context, Clayton would be like, oh yeah, like that's really annoying. Like if Elizabeth was the cause of this, like that probably shouldn't be happening. And I also think that Shanae just is more emotional in this situation. And I think that that is something that Clayton gets easily sucked in by. I think that he's very quick to be like, whoever is feeling more about this situation probably is like not the instigator. Like I think that's how he rationalizes things. And I agree. I wrote down exactly what both of y'all said in terms of like he could have done more investigative work. I think that's
he's like, nah.
Like,
it's like Shanae's hot. Let's just move on.
Like, he was like, that was a frustrating conversation. Do I want more of that? No.
Yeah.
But
I even think just like it doesn't have to be that active. Like when he got up and collected his thoughts, and like Shanae and Elizabeth kept arguing, all he would have to do is like turn his ear up and hear that Shanae's the one like literally forcing herself onto Elizabeth, like just yelling her down and stuff. And it could have easily clicked him in like, oh, okay, when they're not both sitting in front of me pleading their case, like it's clear that Shanae is the aggressor in this situation.
But the man walked away. He walked away and he just completely dismissed himself.
He said, done. He said, I did what I needed to do. What else is more for me?
He's like, all right, well, production, we know the villain.
Right. I mean, one thing that I will say about that particular Shanae and Elizabeth trying to have that conversation in front of Clayton is the thing that Shanae was saying, which was, you were in the hot tub when I gave you the shrimp, and Elizabeth was like, I was definitely not in the hot tub. I'm pretty sure she was in the hot tub in the scene that we saw. She was there. So I don't necessarily think that she was lying about it as much as I think she like didn't remember. Like I think Elizabeth was probably like, I don't know, I was hanging out with a big group of girls in a hot tub. Everyone was talking. The hot tub is going. It's loud. She's already said that she has auditory issues too. So first of all, I wouldn't have really noticed if someone came in on the side of like over there in the doorway and was talking about shrimp. I'm like surrounded by a group of people focusing on what other people are saying, and I'm in a hot tub and like the hot tub is loud. Like I probably wouldn't have heard, let alone the fact that Elizabeth has already said that she struggles to kind of hear multiple people when multiple people are talking because of her ADHD. And so it's like, I kind of get why Elizabeth is saying that she doesn't remember this altercation, this experience or event happening, because she probably like just didn't hear it. I don't think I would have heard it because there was so much going on, like just based on what we saw going on in that scene. So it is true that, you know, in Shanae's eyes, I understand why she's like, oh my God, Elizabeth is lying about not being in the hot tub. but I don't actually think she was lying. I think she just like didn't hear Shanae. But I can see why that became like it like escalated things like that, just kind of miscommunication or misremembering of the situation felt like it escalated things, and it gave Shanae almost more like fuel or like ammo to be like, Elizabeth's a liar. Elizabeth is like trying to spin this story about me. So I do think that it like I said, there's like so much is like now happening that it's becoming like muddy, and like it becomes hard to like make it clear and like clearly describe it to Clayton. And so I kind of get why he made the wrong choice. Like I kind of get it, because it got confusing. By that point, it was like, now it sounds like Elizabeth is lying about this hot tub thing, and it just it's hard to follow if you hadn't watched it all from the beginning, you know?
Exactly. Yeah.
That's a good point. Because I as soon as like Shanae did that, I was like, the argument is lost, Elizabeth. Like as soon as you start arguing with someone, that like they will find anything to like, they will find anything to justify the argument, and they will like hedge a real thing that happened, and they'll use it to make their case on like why Elizabeth is, you know, why she is. That's the argument is done. Elizabeth at that point, anyone at that point, the proper thing is to disengage and just be like, I'm not going to like involve myself with you. And it's clear that we just don't get along as humans. Let's just like respect each other and not really talk to each other. But I can see how it's hard. Emotions are so heightened, and like Shanae is lying so much. But the one little information that Shanae could get, right? Like the one little thing that it happens to be true, she was able to kind of like cast that over like Elizabeth's whole argument. And then it just kind of made it seem like at that point, you're just like, it's done. Like that whole argument, it's just like so bad. You can't like really win out of that.
Right.
Well, unfortunately, too, to your point, Julie, like, you know, adults would just be like, okay, listen, we don't agree. We can just like agree. We don't have to be friends. We don't have to like, we can just be cordial to each other, and we don't have to like continue trying to hash this out because we just don't agree about it. But that was Elizabeth's strategy. But then Shanae crafted this whole story of like, Elizabeth is ignoring me. She's not talking to me. It's like, the woman is trying to move on. She's trying to move on to the argument. It's not that she's ignoring you. She's just like, you know, she doesn't have to be friends with you. I don't know why you're making it seem like she's a bad person for not wanting to be friends with you. She doesn't, it's okay that she doesn't want to be friends with you. Not everyone's going to want to be friends with you. That doesn't make her mean. That doesn't mean that she's bullying you. It's like, you guys don't agree. There's clearly like, you're not aligned in like, not only the sequence of events, but how to interpret events. So it's okay for Elizabeth to not want to be friends with you. But then she kept being like, Elizabeth is ignoring me. She won't say anything to me. And it's like, she's even spinning Elizabeth's very mature handling of this conflict into more ammo against her. So, you know, even though Julie, I agree that that's
a good point.
It was like Shanae even took that healthy conflict management and turned it into another problem, you know?
And I think that goes into like how Shanae is able to paint herself as the most emotional one, and how Clayton, I think, is using the girl's emotions to determine who's more in the right or who he wants to like keep. And I think
that barometer,
it would take all these different instances and become emotional about them, I think only serves her case with Clayton, which is really unfortunate and really annoying.
Yeah, I completely agree. It is very, I don't think Shanae is necessarily trying to be manipulating the story like intentionally. I think this is actually in her head. She's like, this is,
she wants to be right.
This is the scary part.
She believes the lie.
Exactly. She believes it. That's the thing that is, it's not like she's like, I'm gonna kind of fudge the truth so that people whatever, so Clayton thinks that's spicy. I think she actually, like, at this point anyway, at last episode we saw her kind of saying like, he believed me. We saw her kind of being intentional about kind of like crafting the story, but I think at this point it seems like she's just kind of bought into her own story. Like she is like running her own train, being like, everyone is bullying me, everyone's being mean to me, and she's just like said it enough that she like believes it herself. She's forgotten the true story of event, like the true sequence of events as well. So I don't know how you come out of this. I feel bad for Elizabeth that she ends up getting sent home, because the truth is, like, I don't know how you deal with a person like this, because it's, you kind of just have to remove yourself from the situation, is like, so the truth is maybe Elizabeth got the better end of the stick, which is to get out of the
Yeah.
situation. Just like, let's just get away, you know?
Yeah.
For her mental
honestly.
health. Yeah, I think it was good she was sent home, even though it probably did suck, but I also didn't see a lot of chemistry between her and Clayton either. So like,
Yeah,
kind of
but I think she
won,
was like
you know?
robbed of a connection because she had to
True.
spend all of her time defending herself against what Shanae had said to Clayton during Shanae's time with Clayton. So we really don't know, I think, what their connection could have been because she didn't have an opportunity to actually make it. So I'd have been, if I were her, I would be annoyed about that, but I also would be like, okay, phew, I can finally just sit down without someone watching my every move in the hot tub and in the kitchen and all this extra stuff.
Right.
Yeah. So then they have that little debacle. And then the girls go and they try to address it with Shanae prior to the rose ceremony. And that kind of goes up in flames as well. Do you guys have any thoughts about this scene, this conversation?
You mean when the girl tried to bring it up to Clayton?
No, when like pre-rose ceremony, when they came back into the house and Shanae had got another plate of shrimp and she was like, does anyone want the shrimp? And they're like,
my
no,
gosh,
we want
I
to talk
forgot
about everything.
And everyone is yelling.
Yeah.
It's just,
oh my God. I forgot that happened.
yeah.
She was sitting there with a shrimp being like, does anyone want any shrimp?
Yeah.
I was like,
yeah.
I was wondering.
She likes provoking people.
Yeah.
She really, and I don't like that personality, like in my personal life. So watching it was just kind of like, this is grating to like see someone that's like purposely pissing off the other ladies in the house because she knows that she has a physical connection of Clayton and Clayton feels it too. So like she can really kind of rest easy knowing like, well, this is a competition and I am winning in that way. So I do get to be kind of forever one in the house because Clayton, it's not like he doesn't care, but he's not like as, you know, keyed into that stuff. I would say he's kind of just like out of sight, out of mind almost. Yeah.
And like that trait of just like that, like you take that kind of action, which was like she got all the shrimp and then she sat there like, does anyone want shrimp? And it's like, technically, there's nothing wrong with her just like eating shrimp and wanting to offer people shrimp. But, like contextually, and she can of course make up, like if anyone like brings it up to her, she'll be like, why are you all making such a big deal of this? I'm just a girl eating shrimp. Why are you all like always targeting me over every little thing that I do? Like she could definitely have like a whole story if anyone wants to call her out on it. But the truth is like the context, it's like, you know that you are eating shrimp in front of everyone to like aggravate and agitate the situation and like kind of annoy everyone. Like there's no other way to really read that dynamic. And even though she would have a plausible excuse if anyone brought it up, and like it's exactly that kind of behavior that's like it like toes the line between acceptable and unacceptable. Like that's the kind of line that I feel like a lot of people, I'll just use the word mean people. I don't want to like psychoanalyze here, but like just like it's like it's a mean person behavior of like I can toe this line of acceptable and unacceptable, make everyone uncomfortable and upset everyone, but still have plausible deniability that I was just eating shrimp. Like that exact kind of behavior is like you watch out for it because you don't want to deal with someone who is doing stuff that is gonna. She knows that she's pissing people off, but she's gonna make excuses about it. Like that's exactly the kind of behavior. It's like, I gotta just remove myself from this situation. Like I can't be around someone that is doing this kind of that kind of very sneaky type of behavior,
Yeah,
That's
no,
really
absolutely. And I think Shanae's strategy is honestly evolving a little bit, which I am mad about.
Yeah.
But I think in the beginning, her strategy was like, let me find someone to take them down and take them down. And honestly, she has accomplished that. Like she did what she came to do. And I think now, I think you touched on it a little bit, Julie, that she's realizing that she doesn't have to answer to these girls. She's realizing that it doesn't really matter what the girls think of her. So like what you were saying, Kelly, in terms of like, she can toe this line of like being annoying, but like still having a cop out of like, well, I was just eating my sushi. I was minding my business.
I know.
Like she she doesn't have to answer to these girls because Clayton likes her. And that's at the end of the day what the show is about. And I think her strategy is becoming a little bit more mature and advanced and evolved.
She's like a robot. She's becoming so sophisticated. Like her strategy. She's like learning and growing.
Artificial intelligence is like
yeah, she's like becoming so AI right now. That's so funny.
That's honestly what it is.
Yeah.
Which is like super frustrating because it's like you can't really be mad at that. Like, yeah, it's annoying to watch, but it's like, she's right. Like it really doesn't matter what these girls think of her. And as long as she's still able to keep Clayton in her web of lies, that's all that matters.
And Clayton's not really being, he's just not really being super self-aware about it either. Like that's kind of the other thing too. He's participating. Because like if he walked by and she was like talking about the shrimp and the ladies are screaming, he'd be like, that sounds like a nothing. Like nothing that I need to like get involved with because why do I have to argue with these ladies or get involved with them if they're arguing about shrimp? It's all of what Kelly said, the context of it, of like what she's doing and a little bit of that, like, it's a little bit malicious. It's a little bit malicious.
You know what it is? It's like Brianna, to your point, like so many people come on this show and they're like, it doesn't matter what the other girls, what the other guys think of me. It doesn't matter. Like all that matters is what Clayton thinks of me. And so it doesn't matter if I push buttons and like piss people off. And it's like, the truth is you don't really want to be around people like that in real life because if someone, I always say, like, if someone isn't nice to everyone, if they're only nice to the people that they want something from, then they're not actually a nice person, right? Like if you are only like extending kindness and compassion and being like, you know, I don't know, like friendly with people that you want to get something out of, and everyone else you like treat like dirt, then it's like, okay, you're not a nice person. You're just a person who is like, it's not, I wouldn't say it's like manipulative, but it's just like, it's conditional.
You can turn it on when you want to.
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
it's a deal breaker though. Because people like don't like when people are mean to waiters because it's like, what does it say if you treat someone like that? How you view,
No, you're right on. You're so on it, Julie. It's like your capacity for cruelty, like, is now evident, right? Based on the way that Shanae treats these other people, it's like, Clayton, if you piss her off, she's gonna treat you like that too. That's the thing. It's like, clearly she's not just a good, like a kind, nice person who's kind and nice to everyone. She will, if you piss her off, she's gonna treat you in some type of way. And so like, that's like the waiter thing, exactly. You like,
But that's the thing. I think that she honestly can keep up this facade for the whole season because I don't think that her goal is necessarily to enter into a long-term successful relationship off of the show. And so with that in mind, she's accomplishing her goals. Her goal is to win. And she's doing what she needs to do to get there. And
it
I
just
mean,
sucks,
like, she's a villain, but you can't really be mad at it if she's doing what she came to do. You know, it just sucks that like other people are in the path of her destruction who actually have the goal of having that long-term relationship. They want to actually date Clayton for Clayton and not just so they can say they won the Bachelor.
Right.
Or the experience of just being on the show, because I think that in itself, like that's the bulk of what these ladies will experience. It's not like only one person ends up with Clayton, right? But like in the meantime, you get to have a really fun experience getting to interact with all of these ladies. And if I always thought if I was on the show, I would just be more of a girl's girl. Like that would be my thing. I'd be like, I'd want to like connect with these people more than anything else. So that's what sucks about it, is that Shanae is kind of wrecking their experience as well. And she's kind of taking all of the fun out of it. Like we're in a pandemic, like they're just starting to travel again. Like let them just have the little bit of fun they have instead of having to worry about like shrimp and pettiness and like aspirations to get on Bachelor in Paradise. Because I do think some people have that in their mind.
Oh, absolutely. Definitely. So we skip ahead a little bit. Like I said earlier, covered Rachel's one-on-one on Here to Find Love, so be sure to check that out. So skipping ahead, we had a group date to finish out the second half of the episode. And prior to this group date, Sierra is having a little meeting with some of the girls in the hotel, trying to devise a strategy to address Clayton, like at the group date, at the after party, whatever. And Shanae is sleeping, quote unquote, and eavesdrops on this conversation happening in the room next door. What did you think? What did you guys think of this like strategy session and like Shanae picking up on it and everything like that?
The only thing I will say about this scene is that, one, I think it was like pretty contrived that I did it. Oh, Shanae, just like, what happened to over here? Like, it seemed like this was probably a pretty orchestrated scene, but just regarding.
The producer said, "Wake up! They're talking about you, girl. Get up."
I know. Well, what? They were like, Shanae was like sleeping, and they were like, by the way, while you're sleeping, we're just gonna be here filming you, laying with your ass in the air, and like, don't worry about us. Like,
we be on top of the covers, by the way.
It's like,
that's not normal.
Yeah,
that's honestly more concerning if it was. You know? Like that's not okay.
Yeah, it's just so funny. But that whole thing aside, I mean, the whole Sierra, Gabby, Genevieve thing. My only thing with that is that, like, I get why they're all like continuing to be upset with Shanae. Like, I would be upset too, and I do feel like at this point it's like a little bit of a waste of their energy and their time to be just like spending headspace and any of their time here on Shanae anymore. And it's just like, it just feels like a waste, and it feels like now they're gonna get themselves like mixed up in this drama, and like they're gonna only hurt their own opportunity to connect with Clayton by focusing so much on this Shanae thing. Like by this point, like he already has shown he likes Shanae. He sent Elizabeth home. If I were there, it would be like, okay, I need to just like move along and focus on whether or not I'm connecting with Clayton. And to your point, Julie, like there is something about this. I think we may have said this in our conversation, the other video, I don't remember, but I would be very alarmed, not with the fact that Shanae is here and still here, but more so with the fact that Clayton chose to keep her here. Like that would be the thing that I would be focused on. Like, so being so concerned about, oh my God, we need to make sure like we get Shanae out of here. I would just be more like, I can't believe I'm dating a guy who likes a girl like Shanae. Like that's where my head would be. And I would be more focused on that and just trying to figure that out. Like, I think they're giving a little bit of like a benefit of the doubt to Clayton that like he like doesn't just not, that he just doesn't care about the Shanae drama. Like, I think they're giving him the benefit of the doubt that if he knew, he would send her home. And I just don't actually think that that's true necessarily. I think he does know, and he's decided that he agrees with Shanae, or he's okay with Shanae's shenanigans. And like, that's more the thing that they should be focused on, rather than like, we just have to really emphasize how mean she is to Clayton, and then he'll send her home. It's like, I think it's a lost battle, ladies. Like, I think you need to just focus on your own relationship. I don't think this is like necessarily only a Shanae problem at this juncture. I think it's also a Clayton problem, right? So
yeah, in that way, I think that they're both a good match, like Shanae and Clayton, because there's a lack of self-awareness almost. Like, they both think they're being aware in the situation, but they're really not. Like, Clayton isn't really being thoughtful about the way that he's like, okay, where there's smoke, there must be fire. I have to like see what's happening in the house. He kind of just takes it exactly at face value. And Shanae's like, well, the show is about finding a person. It's not about, I hate that line, like, I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to like find love. I'm here to find Clayton, you know? But that just feels a little bit like you're missing out on like all of the other attributes that make you a really compelling person to like want to date, which is a person that's kind and a person that can like get along with people. So in that way, and I just don't like either like how they're making Clayton seem like he's so not, you know, like he's just kind of like this poor man being ensnared in this web of lies. It's like he is walking into it. He's just like Shanae is a very attractive woman to him. So I think he's a little bit like, yeah, like this isn't as big of a deal as I maybe think it is. But it's not a good situation that he's in.
So after that, we go on the group date. It starts off with a tailgate, fun, cute, and then some Houston Texans football players pull up and they tell the girls that they're going to be playing tackle football. And it's the classic, like whoever loses has to go home, whoever wins gets to go to the after party. So of course, all the girls are taking it very seriously, getting pretty competitive about it. Any thoughts on this day portion of the group date?
Julie, I'll throw this one to you.
I wish they just kept with the tailgating.
Yeah.
Honestly, I just was like, everyone seemed like they were having a really good time. The food looked really good. Everyone was getting along.
Yeah.
For the most part. So like when the competition part came, that's me just being like, I think that's where some of the girls in the house might get confused on if they like Clayton or if they're just really competitive about like getting more time with someone that it's like a scarcity, right? Like when you really want time with someone and you don't really get a lot of it, you make more of it than what it actually is. So I just think
that build that bachelor bubble. That's exactly. They build it up in their heads. The producers know what they're doing.
But that's a lot for Clayton, who is not seasoned in this at all, who is a simple man, who is, like we kind of talked about in the other recap, he's just kind of been used to like a very, a dating experience that isn't maybe so complex of all of this like artificial elements being built into it. So I just think it's confusing because it's who do you like, who's actually here for you, who thinks they're here for you, but maybe they're confused about the feelings they're having for you, like there's so much of that being in place. I just wish they kept with the tailgating, the tackle thing. It was just like, would be my worst date. That's a nightmare for me. Like I would not be competitive. I'm like, I'm going home. I'm just gonna be in the hot tub.
I'm sorry. I would be a baby about it, and I would just be like, "No, I'm sorry,
I'm not for me."
In this. Like, I just don't think I will. I can't. Like, getting tackled to the ground. Are you kidding me?
For
like,
a man, for a guy,
for a man,
no man is worth it.
No man,
no man is. I'm walking home. If they like wouldn't let me, if they wouldn't let me just like opt out of the date, I'd be like, "This is not for me. Like, this is not fun.
No,
it's not fun."
I also think that the show just doesn't know their target audience demographic.
Who is it?
The segment went very long, and I was like, I don't know what play they're doing. I don't know who has the position. I don't know why we're tackling.
They kept doing those football thingies where, like,
like the. Do y'all know who's watching this right now?
The replays.
Yeah, the replays. I was like, let's cut it out. All that time they did on the football, we could have seen Serene's date. Like all the time, could have been chopped off from that and gotten the whole one-on-one. Honestly.
I don't know who's editing. It's a team of men. It's honestly a team of men behind those cameras, and they're like the ones that are like, we have to like have this on. It's like, no, we truly don't. We could have done without it.
We don't.
Yeah, I will say I watched this episode with my partner, who is a guy, and he loved this segment. He was like, "This is so fun." He was like, "Oh, I guess it is for the men." So hard. He was like, "This is hilarious."
And that's not the target audience. That's not the target demographic.
I thought
they want to appeal to everyone.
I know. I mean, listen, the Bachelor Nation's boyfriends also are sometimes forced to watch the episodes.
That's fair.
It's okay that, I mean, who among us has not forced our boyfriend to watch Bachelor with us? So, let's be real.
Yeah.
So, we're all guilty. So, I mean, at least.
But they would have watched it without the football segment, right? Because, like, for me, I just started to, like, tune out. Like I had some work to do, so I just started doing my work on my computer. I would look up and I'm like, oh, we're still seeing people get tackled. Yeah, like I would just be like, okay, I'm not ready to watch it yet, but that's what I thought about the date.
Yeah, I mean, what did up? I mean, I guess Sierra and Shanae were like tackling each other a lot during the football thing. That was like the main kind of drama going on there, but I don't know. I did think, personally, I thought that Sierra was starting to like get a little too caught up in the Shanae stuff here. I was like,
she's been caught up.
I know. I was like,
she's been caught up.
You are way too like fine to be bothered by.
Honestly,
like, you're sullying yourself with this Shanae drama, and like you don't need to. Like you're fine without getting involved in all this. I was actually a little bit like bummed out to see Sierra getting so sucked into this and like focusing on like tackling Shanae, because it also like Clayton later brought that up on their like one-on-one time. Clayton was like, you were like tackling Shanae when she didn't even have the ball.
Yeah, because Clayton was watching those plays.
Right. And
he was like, that was when he was engaged.
Yeah.
Paying attention to the house. Clayton, you dummy.
Yeah.
Paying attention to the wrong things.
Like, oops, I did, you're right. And it was like a little bit, again, it kind of just feeds like Shanae's narrative of like, everyone's being mean to me.
Yeah.
It's like kind of like just like feeding it, because Sierra was just a little bit like, oh, you're right, I didn't tackle her. Whoopsie. And it was like, I feel like it didn't land right, because Clayton, again, doesn't know the whole background story. And Clayton is just like, why are these girls just like pushing Shanae around, you know? So like, I feel like it was like just really not helping Sierra and the girls' case to like be, it's like, you can't fight mean girl energy with mean girl energy, you know? It's like, it's just not gonna work out. Doesn't make you look too cute. And it also is just like, it's just giving more fuel to Shanae's fire. So it's just, I kind of was watching that football scene and being like, I don't think this is going to work out the way you're hoping for, Sierra.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of what I was feeling watching that scene. So
one thing I did appreciate about the date, the only thing I really appreciated was Marlena's energy.
Oh my God, so great.
Yes, because she was just like so cocky, but like she earned it. Like she's like, I'm an Olympian. Whoever's on my team, we're gonna win. I was like, you're right. You're absolutely.
I would want to be on her team. Like, please pick me. I can be the last pick. I don't care.
Yeah, like just give me in the roster.
Oh my God, she was so flipping funny. I just want to watch a show that's just all Marlena. Like,
yeah. Clayton, pay attention to like the good ones out there. You know?
Oh, it's like, please, you've got people like Marlena out there, and then you're like all focused on
Shanae getting tackled. He's like paying attention to the wrong thing on the field once again. He's just like not looking at the right thing.
He did actually give a little attention to Teddi and Gabby out on the field though, which I appreciated.
That's true.
A little bit of attention to them.
Yeah. So then we moved into the after party. I don't know if y'all have been paying attention to Clayton's fashion this season, but he's been wearing a lot of blazers and hoodies to these after parties.
I don't like it. He's like, I'm 40, but I'm cool, you know? It's like, no. Take it off.
Did he do that again?
Put on a shirt.
No, I was gonna say this was his best look yet, in my opinion. He had on a nice turtleneck. It was like a burnt orange. I remember this very clearly because it was the first time I watched the episode and I was like, he looks good. So I just had to notate that.
It was like it stuck out to you.
Fashion aside, it worked.
I haven't liked his fashion at all. I'm just like at all. Like, period. Just nothing else to say, you know? How can it be improved?
So Clayton is there. He's looking good. Any thoughts about the after party in general?
So in the after party, this is when the girls start bringing up to Clayton that the Shanae stuff, right? Like that's what's happening in this scene, right? Yeah. Like I was just kind of like, ladies, I don't think this is working the way you think it's working. Like, and I could just kind of tell that Sierra and Genevieve like really thought, they were like, oh yeah, this is really gonna work. Clayton's gonna believe us and then like send Shanae home. But I was like, I don't think it's like, again, there's been so many events that have happened already that it was almost like they weren't even very thoughtfully explaining to Clayton what Shanae has been doing wrong. Like they were just like, she's not wife material. She's not a mother. And I was like, Sierra, what are you like? Like Sierra, like there's a lot of things wrong with Shanae, but it's not that she's not wifely. Like, you know, I was like, I felt like people were like losing track of the actual like sequence of events and the actual things that like Shanae has done so many bad things. She has like made fun of like a girl's like neurodivergence. She has like intentionally lied and manipulated the scene. She's antagonized all these women. She's done a lot wrong. Y'all are like kind of like bringing up these like she just has this bad energy. You just don't want to marry a girl like her. I'm like, guys,
Yeah.
we're losing track here. We're losing track of the threads. And it's like, as I was listening to them talk to Clayton, I was just like, I just don't think this is gonna work out. Like, I don't think Clayton is like eating this up really. So I just was mostly just like, oh man. I wasn't surprised when Shanae showed up and he was like, let me just make out with her. Like, I wasn't surprised at all because nobody was giving a very convincing case for everything that, you know, is bad about what Shanae has been doing. No one really gave a very convincing case about it.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I think everyone kind of lost the plot on that date. Like Shanae, that's the one thing that I think she's really good at. She's focused on her connection of Clayton. And then when things happen with the girls, she's like, you know, it's because of all of this drama in the house, but I just want to focus on you. If the girls had developed that and then he actually fostered a connection of them individually, I think he would be more inclined to then listen to them about Shanae because he now trusts them. And he's like, oh, you're here for me and you're noticing something about Shanae versus maybe girls coming out of the woodwork and just being like, not really talking to him and just kind of complaining about Shanae right away. It is hard to listen to, especially if you're looking for a partner. Like I think it's easy for him to like tune it out and for him not to be like, this is super important to me. I want to talk to the girls I want to talk to and the girls I like.
Yeah. Like, it's kind of like, you know, Clayton said he's like, oh, great, I'm going to get to sit down and hang out with this like hot babe Sierra. But then like Sierra starts talking about like this like drama related to Shanae, and it's like,
and it sounds so small, you know.
It sounds so small, and it's like then it becomes like it goes from like cool, I'm gonna have a like awesome like hang with this like pretty girl to like, oh my gosh, it's so exhausting to be around this person because she keeps bringing up all of this stuff, you know, and like it's like really not helping. Like but Genevieve too, like Genevieve is someone who I feel like has been like, I don't know if front runner is the right word, but like Genevieve has been someone who I have thought like, ooh, I feel like there's something like actually there between him and like her and Clayton. But
she's
then,
bothered by it. Yeah.
Like she's getting so bothered that her energy is getting kind of like muddy and negative. And like, I'm like, I don't think Clayton's gonna, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think Clayton's gonna be enjoying being around you. And like, so I was just kind of like, I think this is kind of backfiring was mainly how I was feeling during this after party. I just don't think it was working in the way these girls were hoping it was going to work, you know?
Yeah. And I think to your point, Kelly, I think that I think they were relying a lot on like emotions. What you were saying about like the wifely, like she's not a good mother or whatever, like that's an opinion. Like that's not a fact. That's not something you can fact check or verify.
And it's a mean thing to say about someone.
It is,
It's unnecessary to call into question someone's ability to do those things. I just thought they were just, it was out of hand.
Yeah, and it's very unsubstantiated, but like the things that Shanae has actually done, she's actually done those things. So I think if they had led with that, like if they had been like, hey, Clayton, you're missing part of the story. Like the actual beef between Shanae and Elizabeth started when Shanae, you know, was making fun of her ADHD. Like if they had led with like facts and like stuff that Shanae could not refute, I think Clayton would have no choice to be like, okay, do I want to continue dating this girl who can actively like bully someone in this way? But like now he's just got like, oh, she's not a good wife. But like ultimately that's for Clayton to decide. That was never for the girls to decide. So I think he's just kind of like, well, your opinion doesn't really matter in terms of who I want to make my wife. So I think that just the way they went about it. And I think for them, it's like, those are the conclusions that they've drawn based on all the drama that they've seen. So I get why they got to those conclusions. But at the same time, like Clayton's not there. And I think they're starting in the middle of the story for Clayton instead of at the beginning of the story. And we know Clayton's not going to go back and do the work to get to the beginning of the story.
No, so, he's not. He's taking it exactly as they say.
Yeah. And like, and like you even heard when Shanae eventually came and, you know, she was like, whatever, Clayton was like, oh, like the girls have been bringing up like questions about your character. And she was like, oh yeah, it's always like something's wrong with my character, but never any specifics. And he was like, you're right. There's never any specifics. And like, he was sitting there kind of like, and he was like really believing what she was saying because it was true. No one is bringing up specifics, and like it does make their whole kind of case sound more like kind of petty, we just don't like her kind of stuff. And it's like, it's not that you just don't like Shanae. It's like Shanae has actively taken actions that have been antagonistic, negative, like bullying, like, truly, like she's done things that have been really terrible. But if you're just like, we just don't like her character, it's like, that doesn't mean anything, people, like, you know. So
like, well, you don't have to date her, so you know, like it. Like,
so it was like kind of hard to watch, but I also wasn't surprised that he ended up like believing Shanae and making out Shanae. I was just like not surprised by it at all. So
like I'm saying, like her strategy is evolving. I think she's getting better at this and is better.
She is getting better.
To, like make everything that's going against her fuel her strategy and just ultimately make herself look better in Clayton's eyes.
Right, exactly.
What she's going to do.
Exactly. And it's like all. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to bring up like this. It's not like from the episode itself, but I saw on Twitter that he like posted a tweet and he was like, I have a lot to answer for it because like I'm seeing this play out. I know it's very different than what I thought. And people were like up in arms. They were like, I can't believe he sent home Elizabeth, but it's like, I can see why. Like he's also in a bubble and he's not being presented with the information that is meaningful for him. Like I think if a girl, I don't want to make it so gendered, but if a girl had come up to like another girl and been like, this is what's bothering me about this person, and they let up emotions, we'd be able to pick up on that intuitively. Like, ooh, that's kind of a red flag. To him, it's like, I think this is bullying on, or like not like petty bullying of someone just being jealous that I have a connection of Shanae maybe. Like he's kind of able to rationalize it to be this thing that's not as big of a deal than what it actually is. So I just, people are really mad at him, but I'm like, I don't know. I just think that he wasn't really aware either. And no one was really telling him exactly what it was. So I can see why he thought what he thought. Like he's also like involved in this huge production. Like he,
it feels like there was bad like conflict management on all parts from everyone, including the women who were like, even Elizabeth. Like Elizabeth was obviously innocent in a situation. She like didn't intentionally antagonize Shanae at any point. But then like in some of their conversations, like she wasn't being particularly helpful for her own case. She was kind of like trying to have like these snappy one-liners to Shanae, and I'm like, Elizabeth, like stop trying to have one-liners. Like it's not going to help it's not going to help. Like it's just, you need to just be more straightforward with people and, you know, lead with a little bit of like, even the whole like shrimp thing, like everyone has been very like, oh my gosh, I can't believe we got into all this drama and it's just about shrimp. And it's like everyone is kind of like minimizing it. It's like, you know, it's not actually just about shrimp, but everyone is making it seem like the drama was just about shrimp. And it's like, well, you know, it wasn't. What it is actually Shanae is sensing that people don't like her, and the shrimp is just like a conduit to discuss that. But like everyone is making it seem like she's making this big deal out of shrimp, and it's like, well, like it's not helpful if everyone is going to come in here and like be kind of like intentionally ignorant about what Shanae is actually talking about. It's kind of like when Cassidy was like, everyone's mad at me about not hanging enough streamers, and it's like, Cassidy, you know that they're not mad about the streamers. They're mad about the fact that you're not like being helpful and participating, and you're like kind of making fun of everyone and making fun of the kids, and like everyone's mad at you about that. It's not about the streamers, but it was a similar thing here. Like I felt like everyone was like, oh my gosh, she's just making this drama about shrimp, and it's like, it's not about the shrimp. Like you can say that to minimize like what the conflict is actually about, but then you're not going to get anywhere with any of this, right? No one is getting anywhere, and it's all just like, it's just all getting muddier and worse because nobody wants to like meaningfully dialogue with what the other people are upset about. Like Shanae is upset that no one wants to be friends with her, and like is also just a little bit intentionally causing drama. So that's its own thing. But like no one is really meaningfully trying to do anything about it. And what Shanae brought up, which was like Sierra checked on her, and Sierra was like, oh, like, are you okay? What's going on? Like she said this to Clayton, I think, right? Shanae was like, oh yeah, Sierra checked in on me in the bus. Like, are you okay? What's going on? Are you still upset about anything? Are you going to bring up anything on the date? And Shanae was like, no, I'm not going to. And then Sierra still brought up stuff to Clayton, even though Like, it's like, Sierra, like, you are now falling into the trap of like playing Shanae's game. Like, you're falling into the trap of doing the same BS that Shanae was doing. And it's like, I think everyone is just kind of like, it's like a slippery slope. It's like they saw one girl acting out, which was Shanae, and now everyone's like, I can act out too, because whatever, who cares? It's just not helpful. Sorry, I went on a long monologue there, but
no, but it's a really excellent point you made about like that being like it's confused, because it's like I think about like fights almost like in couples, like you fight about the dishes, but it's not about the dishes, it's about responsibility, it's about like accountability, it's about feeling like you're sharing in the teamwork, right? But you can, but if you make it about the dishes, you're losing the plot, you're forgetting what the fight is actually about. And I think all of the girls demonstrated that in the past few episodes of just not of just making it about the shrimp, making it about like the streamers, making it about all of these things, when it's really speaking to like this deeper personality thing that they're noticing. But maybe it's meaner to say like, I don't like her because she's a mean person. So they want to make it about like these events, but these events don't really matter. It's just kind of like emphasizing those traits they already don't like.
Right. Yeah. Do you guys have any predictions about, because in the previews, they tease we're going to have a 2-on-1 next week between Genevieve and Shanae, obviously. Do you guys have any predictions about the outcome? I'm super glad we're getting a 2-on-1 back.
2-on-1s are so great.
I know.
I love 2-on-1.
They're great. They're always fun. I do feel bad for Genevieve because she was really, she was like, oh my God, I got sent on a 2-on-1.
I know.
She's really sad.
Yeah.
Like, I think she's been expecting to have a good, juicy 1-on-1 with Clayton, and like to get put on the 2-on-1, that is pretty like.
Yeah. I think I almost should have been Sierra, because she's the main ringleader trying to get everyone to like talk about Shanae.
But the connection's not as strong.
That's true.
Clayton and Sierra.
Yeah,
but
so it's not as high as stakes. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I have predictions. Maybe I kind of think that he'll keep Genevieve over Shanae, but mostly because he likes Genevieve more, not necessarily because he believes Genevieve more over Shanae. Like, I think he'll just keep, that's my guess, I hope. I think that he just thinks Genevieve is super cute, which is true. So I think like he'll probably keep her around. That's my guess. I don't think it's any deeper than that, though, frankly.
What do you think, Brianna?
I have zero faith in Clayton, so
I kind of think he's going to keep Shanae too.
Yeah,
man. I do.
With Genevieve, she was one of the people who night one kind of stuck out to me. Like, she had a little chit chat, and I was like, okay, like this could really go somewhere.
Kind of dig it.
Then she's been kind of in the background, and like she used her time this episode to make it about Shanae, which doesn't advance her relationship. So his most recent memory of her is gonna be like, you know, trash talking Shanae. And we know Clayton is not the one to dig into the archives and reflect on things.
So he's moving on.
Yeah, I don't have much hope or faith for him.
But didn't we see in one of the previews like her jumping in his arms on like an international date? Like they traveled somewhere. Shanae? I thought it was Shanae. So like maybe I'm wrong.
Sure it wasn't Rachel.
I don't know. I mean, maybe edit this out. I'm not totally sure. I just know that like I think Shanae makes it a decent amount.
I mean, I could see that happening. I could really see that happening.
Out of the previews itself and Clayton's decision making, it would just make sense. Like I'm already sensing a pattern of this man. Like, if he picked Shanae, I would not be surprised. I would actually be like, this is exactly like how I thought it would be.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with that. I think the only asterisk, my only kind of asterisk there is that even though he has been pretty consistently into white blonde women, I do think that he has shown interest in like attraction to Genevieve. And so I do think there is some chance that he's more attracted to Genevieve than he's to Shanae, even though obviously he's been attracted enough to Shanae to like want to make out with her all the time. Like I don't know why, but I just kind of like feel like he has an interest in Genevieve that hasn't been explored yet, versus with Shanae, it kind of has been explored more. So that's the only reason why. Not because I think he's gonna make.
But will those thoughts come to the surface? I agree that those thoughts are there, but I don't trust him to.
I was gonna say, Kelly, of course you would think that because you're a smart person.
Yeah,
you know?
I don't trust him to use that in his decision making. I think he can look at all the way
Kelly explained it.
This has nothing to do with
smart
me.
Person. Yeah. Clayton would be like, I like Shanae. It ends there.
Yeah,
all roads lead to that. You know, like I would also be like, okay, like I have to really think about this, like mapping it out in my mind.
Yeah.
Clayton is an A-B kind of guy. He's like, let me just let me just end up here. And I say this if it's a little like just like joking, but like truly, I can see him keeping Shanae just because of that. Like he's just not thinking.
Yeah.
He's just not thinking.
On a lighter note, someone who stuck out to me outside of the whole Shanae drama at this after party was Teddi. The conversation that they were able to have, she opened up about how like her parents separating a lot as a child made her feel like she used the phrase like she had to work or like earn his love, and she feels like she's repeating those patterns in her current dating situations. Thoughts?
Julie, I'll pass this to you. What do you think?
I mean, I like Teddi a lot. I think that it was really nice for her to say that to Clayton. I just like her being on the show, like after admitting that, I'm kind of like, are you repeating a pattern almost of like earning someone's love or fighting for someone's love or feeling like you can't just receive it and have it flow to you? You have to like compete for it in some way. That was kind of like my first thought of like, I don't know if maybe this like framework of the show is good because it's kind of like rubbing against things that are extremely sensitive to you as a person, which is totally okay. But I don't know, that's something I think Teddi should be cognizant of. And I think that's something that may continue to kind of like show up in the episodes if she continues to stick around, that like she might feel that more as like, you know, it narrows down and it is down to like Clayton and the woman that he's genuinely invested in. Like, is she going to feel that? How is he going to manage that? How is he going to help her out with like her insecurities?
That is such a smart observation, Julie, of just like, if she knows she has this issue where she feels like she always has to earn love and fight for love and like try to work to gain love, and like coming on The Bachelor is kind of,
that's like the ultimate exposure therapy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, exposure therapy is exactly what it is. Exactly. She's like exposing herself to exactly that situation where she literally has to fight to earn love on the show. And like, you know, is it going to help her? Maybe, but it kind of seems like it's just gonna pull at those, like trigger those insecurities, which is kind of what we've seen so far. Her conversations, other than the first night where they had a really great conversation and she got that first impression rose, so far all their conversations have just been her talking about like, I feel like you like all the other girls more than me. Like, do you really like me? Like, that's what her conversations have been now. And I'm like, Teddi, like, you're too much of a babe to be worrying about this stuff. Like, and like, and that's kind of what he's been saying too. He's just like, no, like his conversations with her just are always him like having to like reassure her and be like, no, like, just be yourself. Like, you know, you're great. Like, you shouldn't have to worry about all that. Just focus on us. And like, I just think that kind of impedes a little bit of their ability to like really deepen their connection if he's just always having to like reassure her, as opposed to him being able to like learn more about her. I'm glad that she opened up in this conversation and talked more about her past, but I don't know, I'm just a little concerned, Julie, to your point, that like maybe this is just not the right environment for her to be forming a relationship. Even I like her so much, like I want to see her here and I want her to like succeed, and I'm just like, I just don't know if this is her place, the right environment for her to be like trying to find love, you know?
I feel like it's one of those things where it's like I feel like people sometimes can get stuck in the self-awareness part of healing or like growing from an issue. And I feel like that might be what we're seeing from Teddi. It's like, it's great that she was able to recognize this pattern in herself, recognize that she did it as a child and that it might influence her current like dating patterns. but I don't know what work she's doing to combat that or to like try to get away from it. And I think a lot of times people can just identify the problem and they think that's done.
That's a good point. Yeah.
And I'm not saying that with any type of judgment, because I definitely do that in my own life. But
still do it. Yeah.
It from the outside, I'm like, you might just think that the work is done because you've identified the problem. And it's like you're saying, like she invited herself onto the show where the problem's only going to continue to play out and be exacerbated. And so it's like, from what frame of mind did we make that decision to join The Bachelor and to continue to fight for a man's love? So I think that this pattern will continue to surface. But I think also that Clayton, he seems pretty resilient to that type of like insecurity. Like he seems like he would not be a partner that would get tired of providing reassurance. I think he would just be like, okay, like this is what you need to feel comfortable. I'm happy to give that to you. Like, I don't think that would bother him. So, you know, it might not, like, even though she might need that extra reassurance, it might not pose any conflict in her relationship, but it also might not get her on the path to healing. Cause it's like, it's just kind of putting a Band-Aid on it by being with a partner that's like, okay, well, I'll reassure you. And then you don't have to do any internal work and see why this pattern is happening. Cause it's just not present in this current relationship.
Yeah, really well said. I think that people often go to relationships and like be like, I have all these insecurities and like what I need out of a relationship is someone who will like affirm me and validate me and like kind of comfort me a lot. And like maybe that's true. You do like want, it's easier to be in a relationship with someone who's willing to do that. And that can't be the only healing. Like the relationship is not what's going to heal you. Like you need to also work on where are those insecurities coming from? Why are they there? What work do I need to do to like not feel this way so that when I'm in a situation like this, I feel less insecure, not just let me just only be in situations where there's going to be a cute boy to like affirm me and like for me to derive my self-worth from. Like that's not going to be the answer. And like Brianna, I really like how you said that. Like I think this is a bit of a Band-Aid, like having a guy like Clayton who's going to be very happy to comfort her. That'll help in the interim, and that'll be good, maybe make their relationship, you know, feel nice and cozy and fuzzy for them. But does that mean that Teddi is going to do the healing work that she needs to do to make sure she doesn't have those insecurities? I don't know. So yeah.
Oh my gosh, such smart points from the both of you, because I think the path that might push her towards growth is like her doing it on her own. But like unfortunately, Clayton, I don't know if I think he's just gonna provide the reassurance the most, and like she's not gonna realize that by her doing that, she's off track in her healing. Like she'll get what she's needing, but as soon as he's not there, she'll kind of feel like knocked over almost because it's not solidified, it's not like scaffolded into like her being as a person that she's moved. And it's not like you can move on from this meaningfully. This will be something that she'll be dealing with her entire life, but you need to feel safe to be with someone that understands that and maybe doesn't provide you the easy solution of like, I'm just going to give you what you need. Unfortunately, I think that like for her, she kind of has to do like a little bit more work. But that's like a personal thing that I'm sure she'll be dealing with, but it'll be very interesting to see the show kind of play that out.
Yeah, I think maybe like it's like security has to be internally sourced. Just always, it cannot be derived from a relationship. And you know, it kind of reminds me of rest in peace, Marissa and Riley. Like love them so much. They're so cute when they're together. I don't know why they broke up, but it kind of reminds me of them. Like Marissa had so many insecurities on Bachelor in Paradise related to being worried that Riley didn't like her enough or that Riley was going to be into other people. And then like Riley was like, no, I'm like super into you. And he was just so willing to comfort her. And she was like, okay, now I'm happy. And it's like, Band-Aid. Like, you still need to work on why were you so worried the whole time? Like where did that come from? Like that needs to be addressed. And it's not that you have to do it, you have to be single to do it. Like I do think that you could do this in a relationship, but to your point, Julie, it's like a little bit of, you need to be careful that you're not taking the easy way out and you're not just like with a partner who's going to like, you're going to depend on them validating you for you to feel okay.
But I don't think Clayton will challenge Teddi. So if she is looking to heal that way in a relationship, this is not the one that will provide.
Yeah, he kind of feels like a soft blanket, which is wonderful. But like that type of healing, it requires you to go through the fire a little bit. Yeah. And he will just kind of like, you know, quiet that for her, which is okay if that's a part of her healing to get to before she's like, all right, this is becoming a problem now. And I really can't keep relying on a person to provide me these things that I so need to do for myself.
Yeah. Well, ladies, thank you for all of your thoughts. This was so fun having you guys on. We definitely have to do it again.
Totally.
Yeah. But did you guys have any final thoughts about anything?
No, this is such a good conversation. I really enjoyed it. It was really great to have just like 3 people in this room and just like sharing ideas. I feel like we really got some good insights out of an episode that I kind of thought was going to be the episode was interesting and fun, but it was like, I was like, what are we going to talk about? But we really found things.
Kelly, I totally agree, because I watched the episode last night and I was like, nothing, but talking to you guys about it, I was able to like get a lot of insights from it, which is the cool thing about a show like this. You know, if you really get to dissect it, you get to reflect on yourself and how you perceive these relationship patterns that are being presented on TV. So it was super fun. Thanks again for the invite, Rihanna. We loved it.
Totally. We loved it.
Yes, it was awesome. Well, thanks everyone for watching, and I'll see y'all all next week for another episode of Rihanna's Bachelor Breakdown.